الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت وهو على كل شيء قدير. قال الله تعالى في الكتاب العزيز بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. وقال يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. وقال يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. اللهم صل على محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. My dear brothers and sisters, there's something very beautiful and very special about watching somebody take their shahada. It's an invitation from Allah SWT for someone to come into the faith. But for as observers who are watching someone do this, it's a very gratifying feeling. And if you take the feeling of going to the house of Allah SWT for the first time, for those of us that may have gone to Hajj this year, or for those of us that have gone to Umrah, I remember the first time I went for Umrah, I was having a conversation with one of my friends. And I asked him, I was like, how am I supposed to be feeling? Like, how should I be in, what kind of mental state should I be in? And I was asking him for tips and things like that. And I remember him describing the feeling of seeing the Kaaba for the first time. And he told me, he's like, you're not even going to realize it, and your body will kind of freeze, and you'll begin crying. And you won't exactly know why you're crying, but you'll just stand in front of the Kaaba and you'll take in how majestic of a feeling it is, and your body will submit. And you'll just cry. And as I'm talking to him through text message, I'm like, okay, I'm not just going to cry standing there for no reason. I don't know. I don't know about all that. But I remember going to the Kaaba for the first time, and you have to take, some steps down, like a staircase down. And then you look up at the Kaaba, right? You look down and then you look up. And wallahi, it's larger than life. It's larger than life itself. You can go in front of the Sears Tower, and you can look up and almost break your neck looking at something that is so tall, and feel nothing in your heart. Although it's monumental, It's grand. It's one of the greatest achievements of mankind to build something that reaches above the skies. But you feel nothing in your heart. But you stand in front of the Kaaba and something overtakes your soul. Something overtakes the bones in your body, the blood that's circulating through you. It begins to tingle. And then neurologically something happens to your brain and you begin to cry when you see it for the first time. Similarly, these two feelings, you're watching things happen for the very first time. You're experiencing this spiritual awakening, as they say. And your heart is quivering and is shaking. And you can't explain it, right? But what happens, on the contrary, when you're born a Muslim, and you've been praying for 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years of your life, right? You've been going through this monotonous exchange of reading Al-Fatiha over and over and over again, right? You've been praying 5 times a day or 4 times a day. You've been going to Jummah every Friday. You've been fasting Ramadan every year. Right? You've been doing all of these things. But before you even realize it, there comes a moment where all of these things are just physical actions. And sadly, we become this shell with a beautiful decor on the outside because we've been Muslim for so long. And alhamdulillah for that. But inside, what's the content? What's the substance of our iman? Right? And that's when a lot of us realize, especially in today's day and age, and we say, my heart is dead. Right? In the spiritual sense, my heart is dead. I'm doing all of these actions that are prescribed to me. Right? On surface, on paper, my resume for being a Muslim is great. I've been doing everything for years. But I have no feeling inside. That's why when we see somebody take their shahada, we see that beauty, that smile, right? Their zeal to want to practice the religion, because it's something that they've never had before. And that leads me to a saying of the Prophet ﷺ. He says, جَدَّدُوا إِيمَانِكُمْ فَإِنَّ يَبْلَ كَمَا يَبْلَ الثَّوْبِ. He says, renew your faith, for it wears as the garment wears. Right? Renew your faith, for it wears out. It becomes worn out like a garment wears out. Think about one of your favorite pieces of clothing that you have. A shirt, right? A suit. No matter how hard you try to preserve it, right, you're going to eventually get worn out because of the laundry, the dry cleaning, the deodorant stains, whatever it may be, it's going to happen. And you can't preserve that shirt, although you try by getting it washed and pressed and all of that stuff. But it begins to worn out. And so the Prophet ﷺ said, irrespective of how long you've been a Muslim, irrespective of what deeds you've been doing, if we are not pausing to renew our intentions, if we're not pausing to take a spiritual inventory of where we are, our faith is going to get worn out. And so many times, if you look at society today, and if you engage the youth, right, if you engage the working class, that's what happens to Islam. It begins to get worn out because of the monotonous nature of what society does to us. I have my 9 to 5, right? I have my 7 to 7. I have my 30-hour on-call shift. And Islam is just a secondary thing because I have to complete X, Y, and Z. And when we get caught up in this, right, when we get caught up in this cycle of life, and we don't pause to reflect on the fact that we have something as beautiful as Islam, right, it begins to get worn out. No one is capable of maintaining a perfect faith, right? So one of the first things is to recognize that there's going to be dips in the faith. The Prophet ﷺ said, right, renew your faith, for it gets worn out like a shirt. And then he says, ask Allah. In a similar narration, he says, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right, to help you, to ask for his assistance in renewing your faith. Because one of the things, when you look at somebody who is committed to fulfilling their desires, and when you look at somebody who has kibr, who has pride, right, you would think, which of the two are the worst? And it's pride. Because when someone is engaging in their desires, and they're lustful, and they're doing X, Y, and Z, they have that recognition inside at least, and they know that I'm committing a sin. But when they have that kibr, when they have that pride, right, it blinds them, it completely shuts off the heart and all senses, that they're not able to recognize what it is that they're doing, right, how greatly it is that they're sinning. And one of the tricks of shaitan is that he comes to us and he belittles the evil that we do. Right? And he over-amplifies the good that we do. And so we begin to fall into this conversation, this exchange. Well, at least I'm not as bad as those people. At least I'm not as bad as those people in my family. Yeah, but they're not, I don't do X, Y, and Z. Well, my coworkers do this, my neighbors do this, but at least I'm doing this in my household. Right? And then we begin to forget our own demons. We forget about our own flaws. And that's where kibr enters our heart. Right? And the Prophet ﷺ said, when it comes to the matters of this dunya, right, and you have this attitude where it's preventing you from being reflectful, right? It's preventing you from being in a state of shukr. He says, when it comes to this dunya, matters of this dunya, not religion, he said, look to those who have less than you. Right? Look to those who have less than you, because it reminds you of the gratitude that you need to possess. It reminds you of the bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But on the contrary, when it comes to the matters of the deen, when it comes to the matters of spirituality, he said, look to those that have more. Look to those that have more. So taking it from a similar lens, yes, that person may be engaged in X, Y, and Z. But we don't know the station that they're at with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the absence of when they're not with society. Right? So yes, they may be engaging in a sin, but what is their station with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So when you look to those that have more than you, whether they have more knowledge than you, whether they're given more charity than you, right? Whether their family lives, their family, behavior is better than yours, and ikhlas is better than yours. That needs to be the measure, that needs to be the litmus test of our dealings when it comes to our religion. Because that allows us to renew our own faith and recognize our own shortcomings. Because in this go-go world, what happens right now, especially when social media is thrown into it, you will never find anybody's cover page or profile picture showing the internal state of their heart, the emotional state of what is happening at home. Yeah, you will never see someone showing you how miserable they are. Just this past week, we had 2 suicides in the Muslim community in the Dallas area and on the East Coast. Right? Nobody talks about the hurt and the pain that they're feeling. But in this society, we want to showcase all of the things that we have, but we want to hide all those things that are internally killing us. And that fake montage of happiness, it causes our spiritual demise, but also our emotional demise. Because we become so caught up in lying to ourselves that we're happy and trying to put on this image to the world that we're happy, that internally we've done so much damage. Right? We've done so much damage. So the Prophet ﷺ, when he says the weakness of faith, right? The Prophet ﷺ tells us renew your faith because it manifests in the weakness of faith, because it degrades the quality of acts of our worship. The negligence in remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, feeling indifferent to His command, and in general, having a doubtful heart. When you think about doubts, when you think about, the quality of your worship going down, when you think about not having a connection and concentration in the worship that you're doing, those are manifestations, those are signs, symptoms of a larger disease, right? Those are symptoms of our heart becoming numb, right? It's spiritual numbness. So the first thing the Prophet ﷺ says, he says, seek Allah's help, right? Du'as enable us to have a conversation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because we are asking the enabler, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who is the turner of hearts. And something that's so profound and beautiful, that although monotony can settle in really quick, if we slow down and take a deep breath and look at what it is that we're doing every single day, when we read Al-Fatiha, every single prayer, at least 17 times a day, we're reading Al-Fatiha. Whether you and I know it or not, we are already asking Allah for help. Right? Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. We're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Allah, keep us guided on this straight path. Because why are we asking this? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows we're going to waver. Right? There's going to be these detours that are going to get us off course. So when we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us on that straight path, so hopefully we do what? We are amongst those who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed their favor upon, and not of those who have gone astray and taken upon the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Prophet ﷺ taught us a dua, and one of the du'as that he used to say most frequently, that all of us should know, right, is the dua of the heart being turned. He used to say, Ya muqallib al-qulub, thabbit qalbi ala dinik. Right, he used to say, O turner of hearts, turn my heart in your remembrance. Right? Because the human being, when you think think about it from an anatomical standpoint of how the heart is created, the heart is literally attached to something called an aorta, right? It's a pendulum, it just swings. So when we get into car accidents or something horrific happens to us, our heart can literally rip off. We can literally die in a few seconds. Because the heart is literally a pendulum. When you think about it from a spiritual standpoint, and the Prophet ﷺ says, "O turner of hearts," because this heart is constantly turning, it's constantly changing, it's literally swinging. 1 second, your iman is super high, and you feel so connected to God, and everything is perfect, and you never felt better. But then something happens at home, or you lose your job, or somebody passes away, your mother, your father, your cousin, somebody that you loved so dearly. And that same sense of spirituality is no more. Where did it go? Because the heart is constantly changing. So our Prophet, the best of creation, sent from Allah SWT, is asking Allah. This is the Prophet. This is not some ordinary man. He's asking Allah, "O turner of hearts, turn my heart," right? Turn the heart of the Prophet in your remembrance. So this is a lesson for us, right? Who are so weak in faith that when a calamity strikes us, we lose our ground. We experience a spiritual earthquake. So this is a dua that we need to be making, and the first step is to recognize that I am headed towards spiritual numbness. I've been doing all of these actions, right? In medicine, you take a course of therapy, a course of treatment, and you're giving antibiotics, and you're giving X, Y, and Z, and you're doing this surgery, but the patient's still the same. You're like, why is this person still sick? Or why are they getting sicker? And then you stop. Right? And you follow this algorithm and you say, wait, this is not working. I am stuck. And then you reevaluate your course of action. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروا إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم ولا عاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أما بعد. My dear brothers and sisters, the high that we feel, the spiritual elevation that we feel from Ramadan, it lasts but 30 days. And then it goes away. Right? And then Dhul Hijjah comes and then we fast again. And then another Eid comes. But then there's this period that we're in right now. I like to call it, it's like the spiritual void, right? Where now the holiday season is going to come. And everybody around us is going to be celebrating and excited. But a lot of the youth, when they're in school and they're in classes, you have this conversation, well, I have nothing to celebrate. Right? I don't celebrate Thanksgiving. I don't really partake in Halloween. I don't partake in Christmas. New Year just happened for me, but there was no ball dropping in New York City. Muharram just started. Like, how do I feel engaged? Where does my Islam come in with society? Right? Because there is no holiday season for me from December 1st to January 2nd. What am I supposed to feel like with coworkers at work? Right? These are conversations that we need to have because these are times where we begin to feel our Islam less. Because everything around us is proclaiming otherwise. So that's why we have to recognize that these iman highs and these iman lows are going to happen. So the first step is to recognize that these things will happen. The second step is to prepare. Right? When I'm experiencing these iman lows, what am I doing? When we're having an elevated faith, we tend to overindulge in the actions of spirituality. And there's nothing wrong with that. What we need to remember is, the Prophet ﷺ said, the best of actions to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are the ones that are consistent even if they're small. So the consistency is what carries us through these low waves. When there's really nothing to celebrate. There's nothing to make us feel, outright Muslim. It's holding on to those little things that bring us closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? The Prophet ﷺ said, there is no deed that is more beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in bringing him closer to Allah, for a slave bringing him closer to Allah, other than the major deeds. Right? The obligatory actions. So an inventory that we take to ourselves is, am I fulfilling my basic obligations as a Muslim? And if the answer is yes, am I doing them in the best way possible? Because if you hold on to the foundation, if the foundation is strong, then the infrastructure that you build on top of it is more than likely going to succeed and is going to be sturdy. Right? There's a dua of the Prophet ﷺ. He says, Allahumma zidna imanana wa yaqeenana wa fiqha. Oh Allah, revive us in our faith, in our certainty, our conviction, and our understanding. Right now, the biggest problem that not just Muslim youth are facing, but the Muslim society is facing is difficulties with our conviction, is with our certainty. Because when calamities strike, or when there's a riffraff in society, what happens to our conviction? When Islamophobia is rampant, what happens to our conviction? So that's why when it comes back to building that foundation, that infrastructure, going back to the fundamentals, the basics. So when we're saying the Fatiha every single day, reflecting on what it is that we're saying, I am asking Allah to guide me to the straight path because there are so many things happening around me that want to take me off the straight path. So I need to ask God to keep me right, to keep me rightly guided. Right? I'm asking Allah SWT, Ya muqallib al-qulub thabbit qalbi ala dinik. I have so many distractions in my life, and this is just a pure conversation, an honest conversation with Allah. I have so many distractions in my life. Right? Every single day, things are pulling me away from you, Ya Allah. And I know that my heart is one way one day, and one way another way. So turn my heart in a way that is most pleasing to you and worshiping you. And the last dua, and the reason I focus this conversation around dua is because it begins by asking Allah. Nobody is going to change the state of our hearts other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We can go to counseling, and we can go to therapy, and we can go to family members. But when the human beings are not able to help, then you go to the creators of the human being. You go to the creator of the human being. And that's where we start off first. Right? The dua that the Prophet ﷺ taught Mu'adh. Right? And this is one of the most intimate du'as, one of the most important du'as, Ibn Qayyim says. Right? After salah, Allahumma a'inni ala dhikrika wa shukrika wa husni ibadatik. I mean, when you think about these conversations, these supplications that the Prophet ﷺ is invoking Allah, there's so much power, there's so much meaning behind this. It's such an intimate request. Right? He's saying, oh Allahumma inni ala dhikrika, oh Allah, help me to remember you. Because yes, we forget you, Allah. Life happens. Wa shukrika. Because life happens, I am so overwhelmed by the blessings that you've given me, so help me to thank you. Because I forget how blessed I am. Wa husni ibadatik. And because I am so blessed, and I forget you, help me, empower me, enable me to worship you in a manner in which you deserve to be worshipped in the most beautiful of ways. Because isn't that what happens? And so we bring the conversation back. The Prophet ﷺ says, when it comes to matters of this world, look to those who have less than you. A man came to the Prophet ﷺ and he said, my heart is dead. He said, go spend time with the orphan and stroke his hair. He said, go sit with the orphan and stroke his hair. Because it's so easy, and I'm not mocking on that or belittling this act, but it's so easy to give a charity on our iPhone. Or Android. It's so easy to go to a website and pledge this amount. But it's very different to look in the face of a homeless person and to say, here, go buy yourself some food. Right? And I shared this story with you last night. I was at work. And a patient came in and I was looking at him and I assessed him. And one of the things that we do is we ask them what their living situation is, if we need to contact family or whatnot. And one of the check marks on our sheet is if they're homeless. And wallahi, I asked this person, do you live with someone? He looked at me dead in my eyes. And he goes, no, I am homeless, I have nobody. SubhanAllah, I froze in my tracks. I am homeless, I have nobody. So then I heard about this hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, and he says, go sit with the orphan and stroke his hair. When was the last time we sat with a homeless person and shared a meal? Or sat with a refugee and ate a meal? That's what the Prophet ﷺ said when it comes to matters of this world. Look to those who have less than you. And it will show you how infinitely blessed you are. And when it comes to the matters of spirituality, strive for excellence, strive for ihsan. Look to those who have accomplished more. And who are those? Those that are no longer here. Right? That's why our predecessors come here, because their books have been sealed. Right? That's why we follow the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. That's why we discuss the stories of the prophets, right? The Anbiya, the Sahaba. Because those are the people right, that are accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we look to those that are better than us in the matters of deen. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He allows us to revive our hearts. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to renew our intention and to renew our faith and to beautify and strengthen our relationship with Him. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك لنا فيما أعطيت وقنا واصرف عنا برحمتك شر ما قضيت فإنك سبحانك تقضي بالحق ولا يقضى عليك. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا إننا آمنا فاغفر لنا ذنوبنا وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم اشف مرضانا وارحم موتانا. اللهم بلغنا فيما يرضيك أعمالنا. عباد الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. أقيموا الصلاة.